Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Taylor, and you're tuned in to the Taylor James Lifestyle Show. Today, we're going to talk about insecurities, hence why I'm not wearing a hat. I have been insecure about my bald head for a long time. In recent years, I've been growing out of my insecurities and applying some of these things I'm going to talk to you guys about today to my own life to overcome my insecurities. A little bit about the history, I guess, of my bald head, if you're curious. I started losing my hair probably right around 21, which was devastating. It's been probably my biggest insecurity. And for those of you that know me, especially any girls that I've dated, you know how insecure I was about it. And it's almost embarrassing more so now to talk about my insecurities from the past than it is to let my chrome dome shine in the wind, right? Well, I'll give you a little insight into how insecure I was. I mean, when I was at work and we wore hard hats, and anytime I had to take my hard hat off, a hood went on immediately after that, or a hat went on, and it was like that. Like I would switcheroo, and anybody that listens that worked with me knows that I was pretty fucking insecure about my bald head. And for a while, I even tried to kind of keep like a mohawk right here. Like I shaved everything else, and I was really, really thin up here. I mean, you can see kind of where my hairline is. I got the old Dr. Phil cul-de-sac going on. Shout out to Dr. Phil, dude. Yeah, man, it's funny to me because I grew up with a lot of long hair people. Like I always loved having long hair. Kind of grew up around skateboarders and musicians and stuff, and surfers, and like my dad has super long hair, my uncle has super long hair, and as a kid I was always at concerts headbanging my hair and stuff. And I just thought of a funny story I'll throw at you in a minute. So it was really devastating to start losing my hair in my early 20s. You know, who the fuck's hair starts thinning in their early 20s? Mine does. And for years I was insecure about it, and I think more so for me, I was insecure about having the insecurity. I wasn't necessarily, I was so stuck on the fact I couldn't get over it that was what made me more insecure than the actual bald head itself, right? And I'll tell you a funny story. So I was kind of mentioning musicians and growing up around musicians. Well, my uncle, shout out to Uncle Sean, he's the best, the GOAT. So he's a drummer. He's been a drummer my whole life. I grew up with him. He always took me to shows when I was a little kid. And when I say little, I mean like from the time I remember. I grew up around him and his friends drumming, and he was drum, and they would play music and skateboard and stuff. And so anyways, he came up to where I live last year with one of his bands, and they were playing a show. And it was really, really exciting. I hadn't seen my uncle in a long time, and super, super excited. You know, all his rock star buddies and stuff came with, and fucking excellent show. If you watch the intro to this podcast, there's a clip from that show in there, and the band Cage was playing, and great show. Really love their music. I love watching my uncle play drums. He's an amazing drummer. Anyways, so after the show, you know, everybody's like, let's go to the strip club. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not necessarily pumped on the strip club. I just want to hang out with my uncle and the guys, you know. I'm like, fucking whatever. I'm not drinking a whole lot, smoking a little bit, and just enjoying myself, hanging out with the dudes. And go to the strip club. We're having a blast. And we're sitting at the meat rack. And a girl, you know, comes up to me, and she's got her legs on my shoulders, and I have my hat on, my ball cap, with the bill forward. She takes my hat off, and she, kind of pulls my head in close to her crotch area, and kind of just the stripper shit, right? And the DJ, I'm sitting next to my uncle, I'm sitting next to his buddies, guys I've known for like more than half my life. And as she pulls my hat off and brings my face forward to her crotch, the DJ is like, "Hey, she's got some shit in that pussy to make your fucking hair grow," in front of everybody, the whole strip club, right? And it was fucking hilarious, dude. And that was kind of, I guess, the beginning of the downfall of my insecurities. It's kind of the ability to laugh at myself. And it was, so at that point, I had this, I don't know what you want to call it. It was a wannabe mohawk type of thing. Like, I was trying to keep, the last little bit that I had, I would shave the sides so that it made it less obvious. And but it was still super obvious. I mean, if you look at the back of my head, you can see it pretty well, like where I'm not growing hair. And so after that, I just decided, fuck it. I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to embrace who I am. One thing I'm pretty big on is, like, I can't control it. Maybe there are things I can do. I'm not probably not going to get a transplant, probably never going to wear a toupee. You know what I mean? I want to be an authentic version of myself. Take me as I am, you know what I mean? And that's how I want to be. I want to be proud of who I am, regardless of aesthetic features that I can't control, essentially. And the other part of that is there are things aesthetically that you can control. And so my kind of the way that I look at it is, I can't control it, but what I can do is I can control the things I can control, which, physical fitness, things like that, what I eat, my hygiene, stuff like that, how I manicure myself, the cleanliness of my head is a big factor and stuff like that. And so as far as like cleaning up the hair and stuff. And so those are all kind of things that help me work in a direction of breaking down that insecurity. And so that's just a little bit of kind of, I guess, an insight into my biggest insecurity. Now, of course, there are many more that as humans, we all have probably a plethora of insecurities that we are working to overcome probably every day. I know I am. Sometimes I get a little out of shape, and that's an insecurity of mine. I don't like being chunky, but that also pushes me to a place of grinding really hard and getting to a better place, right? If it wasn't for the good, or excuse me, if it wasn't for the bad, there would be no good, right? Other than that, though, I have a couple things on this list I want to talk to you guys about. I gotta stretch. It's early in the morning. Okay. We got about a whole page of notes to go through here. And it's just a couple tips, man, to hopefully help you overcome any of your insecurities that you might have, and get on to being a better version of yourself, living a more authentic life, and giving yourself the love that you so greatly deserve, which leads me to my first tip. First tip is self-love. Practicing self-love, self-acceptance, and self-compassion is probably the biggest thing. I say on the podcast all the time, you're the most important person in your life. You should love you the most. And some people will argue that that's a selfish view or a selfish way to go about life. I strongly disagree. I think that if you can't take care of you, if you can't love yourself, how the fuck are you going to love anybody else? If you can't accept you, how are you going to accept others? If you can't be compassionate to yourself, how are you going to be compassionate to others? I also call it self-respect, which is heavy when you put it into perspective like that. Respect yourself enough to not be so hard on yourself, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to things you can't control. like a bald head. You know what I mean? My grandpa on my mom's side was a bald guy. You know, he lost his hair pretty early, and that's probably the genetics behind my situation. Not something I can really control, but I need to respect myself and love myself and accept myself and be compassionate to myself regardless of that. And then again, try to, have enough respect towards myself to grow every other aspect of my life that I can control in a healthy, positive way. And yeah. A little note I got here: acknowledge and accept your insecurities without judgment. I think that's a really good point. It's pretty basic stuff. I mean, these are all basic things, but also remember others have insecurities too. I don't think there is a single human that doesn't have insecurities, you know, and everybody's insecurities are their own. They might be silly to you, but super strong inside that person, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's all about being kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and respect yourself, because you are pretty fucking rad, you know what I mean? And like, really reflect on that. Really reflect on who you are. And that kind of leads us into our next tip. Our next tip is to kind of lean into your strengths. Focus on your strengths and your accomplishments, of course. Remember that you've made it this far. Remember that, all insecurities in consideration, you have overcome those to make it to where you are now. Give yourself some fucking credit for that. You don't need to be so hard on yourself. I think there's a little fly flying around, a little fruit fly. Got him. A lot of times adversity, the adversity that we overcome can be used to kind of dim the shine of an insecurity, I think. When you have accomplished cool things in your life, it really does make those insecurities a lot less, I think. And so, having that self-respect and the ability to reflect on your accomplishments is really important for overcoming your insecurities. If you are somebody that's out of shape and needs to lose weight, and you achieve a six-pack, you know what I mean, but you have a bald head, you know what I mean, like, focus on the fact that you can control other aspects of your life. You can achieve a six-pack physique, you know what I mean, things of that nature. And that's a pretty simple one, right? But we all have our achievements and our adversity that we've overcome. And that is a tool for you to use to overcome your insecurities. Another, I guess, kind of sidebar would be something that I'm doing it right now. I am putting my bald head out there in the world, right? I am overcoming my insecurity by sharing it with the world, and hopefully it will have an effect on somebody, then hopefully change their life or help them overcome an insecurity. And that makes my insecurity basically null and void, I think. Andy Frisella talks about something early in his business career. He talks about how he was afraid to talk to people, kind of, I guess. And what he would do is he would go into the grocery store, and he wouldn't leave until he talked and had meaningful conversations with at least 3 people. And this is my version of that. This is me strengthening whatever lack there is inside of me, strengthening my, I guess just diminishing my insecurity. You know what I mean? I don't really know what you call that. Overcoming the adversity that is my insecurity, right? And I had to do a wedding this year, and I was a big part of the wedding, and I obviously couldn't wear a hat, and that was pretty intense for me because I'd never done something like that with a bald head before. And that was a big one too. It was overcoming it through I guess leaning into it, The last tip I have on here is kind of an important one, I think. It's something I thought about a lot lately. It is basically stop judging other people. Stop judging other people's flaws. I think what that does, and I'm no scientist, but what I've noticed in my own life is that when I have made a conscious effort to accept others for who they are, it makes it easier to accept myself for who I am, and vice versa. I've noticed when people are judgmental of other people, those are typically the people that have the biggest insecurities. Let that resonate with you. That's projection, right? That is, projecting your insecurities on others and trying to, divert any kind of attention because you're so insecure. You can't help but be judgmental towards other people because you're judgmental towards yourself, which again, if you can't accept yourself, how will you accept others? If you can't love yourself, how will you accept others? Being judgmental of other people, especially for superficial things, is a toxic trait as far as I'm concerned. People might think that I'm judgmental. I am to an extent, and I think we all are, but I really do believe I'm not very judgmental when it comes to things like that. I think I like to lean into the fact people overcome things, right? Or when I was really, really insecure about my bald head and I would see guys out with their bald head, I'd be like, man, that's cool. I want to get to a point where I can be that confident to where I can go in public with my bald head. And I'm just thinking about all the funny things I used to do when I was so insecure, and how I try to hide it. It's just funny. But yeah, man, I think the more you judge others, it just feeds into your own insecurities. It makes you more judgmental in general, and it makes you more judgmental towards yourself, because all you're doing is putting that negative judgmental energy into the universe. And if you know anything about how the universe works, the universe gives you the energy that you put out there, right? And so when you're putting that judgmental, negative, toxic energy out into the universe, that's what you're going to get, and that's how you're going to feel. Just saying. But guys, those are my 3 tips. Oh, man. Those are my 3 tips for overcoming insecurities. We got self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-respect. We got focus on your strengths, your accomplishments, and the adversity that you've overcome. Stop judging other people. Stop judging other people. I can't stress that one enough. I've seen it. I see it every day. I see how judgmental people are to each other. And then, if you have an end to that person, that person's personality, you just know. Like, you can see it inside themselves. They are so judgmental towards themselves. And it's like, dude, it's such a simple one. Just stop judging other people. Look at the good things, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't say it any differently. Stop judging other people. That's about all I got on that one. Other than that, guys, wow, time flies. That's about all I got, really. This is a fairly big step for me. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable now in my own skin, but yeah, I mean, I've wanted to do this pod for a while. It's really important to me that I overcome my insecurity and love myself for who I am, and that's why I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And hopefully, like I've said, hopefully it has an impact and helps somebody else overcome any insecurities they might have. Because, again, you're pretty rad, you know what I mean? You deserve to love yourself, and you deserve to be loved for who you are. And that's the mission we're on here at the Taylor James Lifestyle Show, is to remind people of that and to help people get to a place where they can feel that self-love and then elevate their lives and their mindsets and, get on to being the best you can be. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to hop on out of here. I got some work to do. Got to get back in the gym and then get back to work. So the grind never stops. Victory to everybody. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you later.